Okay, hello and welcome to Hanging Out with Bob, podcast hosted by me, Bob at Home. Thanks for joining us, and let's get started. Maybe what I should say is welcome back to Hanging Out with Bob, because this episode is part 2 of our podcast episode entitled Skating Clean, A Story of Reconciliation. In part 1, we talked about the hockey game between the Minnesota North Stars and Boston Bruins on January 4th, 1975, a game in which Boston's Dave Forbes attacked Minnesota's Henry Boucher with the butt end of his stick, driving it into Boucher's eye, following a penalty box exit. The blow injured Boucher's eye socket, resulting in permanent damage and effectively ending his career. Forbes received a 10-game suspension from the National Hockey League, but he was also charged with aggravated assault by the Hennepin County Grand Jury. Here in part 2, we'll talk about the criminal trial of Dave Forbes and the decades that followed in the aftermath of that trial, both for Forbes and for Henry Boucher. Well, despite what Boston Bruins officials thought of the actions taken by 1, the NHL, which resulted in the 10-game suspension for Dave Forbes, and 2, the Hennepin County District Attorney, which resulted in the charge of aggravated assault against Forbes, there was a trial. And it received quite a bit of publicity, both in Minnesota and nationally, and in Canada, since it was so unusual for an athlete to face criminal charges for an assault that happened during a game. And like I mentioned earlier, Forbes was a Canadian, and in the mid-1970s, just under 93% of the players in the National Hockey League were Canadian. The trial began on a Tuesday, July 8th, 1975, 7 months after the game itself. Gary Flackney, again, he was the prosecuting district attorney, called 24 witnesses to the stand, all of whom described how they had seen Boucher sustain his injury. Some of the more prominent hockey figures and eyewitnesses included, Henry Boucher himself. He testified on Thursday, July 10th, and it was reported that Boucher remained calm and unemotional during his testimony. He said he more or less expected another fight with Forbes after both had been given penalties for fighting during the game. He said, quote, "I didn't know whether or not we were going to fight at the time. I thought it might be later in the game. It's happened before where players will come out of the penalty box and a fight will start," unquote. Boucher was the first prosecution witness to state that Forbes' hockey stick actually hit him. According to Boucher, Forbes was trailing the stick from his right hand. Then, quote, "He threw a punch with the stick in his hand and I got hit above the eyebrow," unquote. The day after the incident, Boucher said, Forbes called him to apologize for hitting him. Another witness was Bob Utecht. He was the North Stars' legendary public address announcer who coined the iconic phrase, "Let's play hockey," just before the puck was dropped at center ice to start the game. During the trial, Utecht testified that Forbes used a jabbing motion to drive his stick into Boucher's eye. Utecht also said that he thought he saw Boston coach Don Cherry pat Forbes on the back after the incident. And Clarence Campbell. Again, Campbell was the NHL president at the time. He testified for the prosecution regarding the nature of the sport and the 10-game suspension he levied against Forbes. But Campbell also said Forbes had told him he had had no intention of injuring Boucher. And the name I just mentioned, Don Cherry. He was in his first season as head coach of the Boston Bruins at that time. He testified for the defense. And while PA announcer Bob Utecht had said in his testimony that he thought he saw Cherry pat Forbes on the back after the incident, as though he were commending Forbes for his actions, as in, "Way to go, Dave," Cherry testified that Forbes, when he returned to the bench after the incident, was distraught and had tears in his eyes. Cherry testified that Forbes was uttering, quote, "What have I done? What have I done?" unquote. Cherry said that when he put his hand on Forbes' back, he was telling Forbes, quote, take it easy, let's get to the dressing room," unquote. And Dave Forbes himself. He was the last person to testify in the trial. When he took the stand on Wednesday, July 16th, Forbes said he had been playing hockey since he was 3 or 4 years old, and one of the first things he was taught was to, quote, fight back, unquote. In that game on January 4th, Forbes said during his testimony that Boucher had given him a sucker punch, quote unquote, from behind, and Forbes had not tried to defend himself before they both received penalties for fighting. Forbes said that if he hadn't retaliated after they left their respective penalty boxes, it would have given Boucher a psychological advantage. Forbes said that when they both came out of their penalty boxes, Boucher made what Forbes thought was a kind of turning movement toward Forbes with his upper body. Forbes said he didn't know what was going to happen, so he threw a punch at Boucher. But Forbes also said he wasn't sure whether he was holding his stick or not when he hit Boucher. In other words, Forbes had intended to hit Boucher, but with his fist, not his stick. Forbes said that he didn't realize Boucher had been injured until after his blows had been delivered. I want to step away from the trial itself for just a moment. Dave Forbes, remember, had been charged with aggravated assault and, if convicted, could have spent up to 5 years in prison. And yet, during the 2-week trial, Forbes still managed to find time to play golf. Yep, on Saturday, July 12th, on a warm midsummer day in the greater Twin Cities metro area, an event called the Duff's Celebrity Golf Tournament was held at the Rolling Green Country Club in Hamel, Minnesota, about 17 miles west of the courthouse in downtown Minneapolis. In a story that appeared the next morning in the Sunday Tribune, Forbes was one of the, air quotes, celebrities playing that day. For the record, he shot a 94 for 18 holes, a score I would gladly settle for. The Tribune story also included a photo. In that photo, Forbes is standing next to Dave Schultz, then a player with the Philadelphia Flyers, a team known then as the Broad Street Bullies, since the Flyers back then played in an arena located off a prominent, miles-long Broad Street in Philadelphia. Fans who remember or have heard of Dave Schultz know that he was one of the most penalized players each year in the National Hockey League, always fighting. Now, the Duff Celebrity Golf Tournament was an annual charity. The primary beneficiary was the Variety Club Heart Hospital at the University of Minnesota. All well and good. But at the time I originally saw that story and photo in July 1975, and even again when I saw it decades later in the Star Tribune archives, I didn't think it was a good look for a man charged with aggravated assault in a criminal trial to show up, or to be allowed to show up, at a golf tournament. That's me. Perhaps Forbes' defense attorney, Ron Meshbesher, even advised him to appear at a charitable event. I don't know. But I'm guessing Henry Boucher, still dealing with the double vision he suffered as a result of Forbes' attack on him 6 months earlier, did not play in that same celebrity golf tournament. Back to the trial. On Thursday, July 17th, the assault trial of Dave Forbes went to the jury of 7 men and 5 women. In the Friday morning edition of the Tribune, staff writer Linda Piccone reported that the jury had deliberated until 10 p.m. Thursday night without reaching a verdict. In fact, the jury had returned to the courtroom at about 4 p.m. on that Thursday afternoon to ask for a rereading of the Hennepin County District Judge's instructions on aggravated assault. The jury was given 3 possible verdicts. 1, not guilty. 2, guilty of aggravated assault. Or 3, guilty of assault. Aggravated assault, a felony, carried a maximum penalty of 5 years in jail and a $5,000 fine. Assault, a misdemeanor, was punishable by 90 days in jail and a $300 fine. In the article, defense attorney Ron Meshbesher expressed concern about the length of deliberations. His feeling was that the longer deliberations continued, the less likely were the chances that Forbes would be acquitted, to be found not guilty, in other words. The article also reported that Forbes, obviously tense since taking the witness stand on his own behalf on July 16th, became more so as the day wore on without a verdict. Outside the courtroom, Forbes had harsh words for Hennepin County Attorney Gary Flackney, who served as prosecutor. Forbes said, quote, "I certainly hope all prosecutors don't have their head where Flackney's is," unquote. The judge in the case, Rolf Fassin, had told the jury that, quote, "one cannot expressly or impliedly consent to assault," unquote. But Meshbesher, Forbes' attorney again, contended that hockey was a violent game and players expect to be involved in fights and to suffer injuries during their hockey careers. In final arguments, in fact, Meshbesher had told the jury, quote, "I hold no brief for the way hockey is played today. It is a violent, bloody game. I can't justify it. But don't make this man," Dave Forbes, "the patsy," unquote. Meshbesher also said Forbes was the victim of a, quote, "hometown indictment," unquote. Meshbesher said, quote, "I submit to you that had this man, Dave Forbes, been wearing a different uniform that night, he would not be sitting behind the counsel table and undergoing the agony of a trial," unquote. But Flackney, the prosecuting attorney, termed the incident an unprovoked attack by Forbes. He said, quote, "This was an assault. It was not a fight. It was no different than assaulting someone on the street or in a back alley," unquote. Flackney said the state's witnesses had shown that all elements of aggravated assault were present in the case against Forbes. Well, on a late Friday afternoon, July 18th, the 2-week aggravated assault trial of Dave Forbes ended in a hung jury. The 7-man, 5-woman jury was deadlocked. They couldn't reach a unanimous decision. The judge declared it a mistrial. This story made the front page of the A section of Saturday morning's Tribune. The headline read, "Hung Jury Ends Forbes Trial." Tribune staff writer Linda Piccone reported that the jury had been split 9-3 for conviction on a lesser charge of assault, a misdemeanor. After the mistrial was declared, the article stated that Forbes faced a possible second trial. Judge Fassin had set a court hearing for August 5th, at which time Hennepin County Attorney Gary Flackney could either ask for a new trial date or move to dismiss the charge against Forbes. Regarding that jury of 7 men and 5 women, one juror, a man, said he was among the 3 jurors who held out for a verdict of not guilty. "I do not feel that Mr. Forbes intended to do bodily harm," that juror said. He also said deliberations on the jury got pretty heated toward the end. But another juror, a woman, said that Flackney, the county attorney, should have done a better job of questioning potential jurors. That same woman juror also said that all 5 women on the jury had voted according to the law for conviction. And Dave Forbes himself said after the mistrial, quote, "I feel like I've been trampled by 1,000 buffaloes. I'm still very much confused and a bit bewildered. I feel awfully weary right now." Gary Flackney, the Hennepin County attorney, who was the prosecutor at the trial of Forbes, which ended in a hung jury on July 18th, said on Monday, August 11th, that he would not ask for a second trial. He said, quote, "I am convinced that no matter how carefully selected the next jurors might be, they could not reach unanimity if the case was retried," unquote. But he added, quote, "We have served notice on the National Hockey League and others that extraordinarily violent acts will not be tolerated in this community, and that athletes, no matter in what sport they participate, will not be immune from prosecution should they conduct themselves in a manner similar to that of the defendant," unquote. Forbes, reached by telephone in Minneapolis, said, quote, "The time I felt worst was sitting in the courtroom when they brought back the verdict that there was no decision, and I thought I might have to go through it again. That's when I thought, maybe the system stinks. But I guess it works. I feel great now," unquote. While the criminal trial ended with a hung jury and the charges were not refiled, Henry Boucher did successfully sue Dave Forbes and the Boston Bruins for a reported settlement of up to $1 million, which provided him with structured monthly payments. After all, the permanent vision issues effectively ended Boucher's NHL playing career. That financial settlement helped Boucher by covering his living and medical expenses for decades following that career-ending injury. The legal battle remains one of the most famous cases addressing on-ice sports violence and the limits of criminal prosecution for athletic altercations. Henry Boucher attempted two major comebacks to professional hockey following the stick-swinging incident that severely damaged his right eye on January 4, 1975. The first attempt to come back was in his home state with the Minnesota Fighting Saints of the World Hockey Association, the WHA. Later in the 75-76 season, Boucher made a return to the NHL with the Kansas City Scouts. He stayed with the franchise when it relocated and rebranded as the Colorado Rockies for the 1976-77 season, but ultimately he retired after playing just 9 games that season due to his unresolved vision issues. After retiring from professional hockey at the very young age of 25, Boucher would go on to play for his hometown Warroad Lakers before donating much of his time to various Native American causes. Boucher founded a program in 1995 to offer economically disadvantaged Ojibwe youth the opportunity to play ice hockey. Though mostly remembered for his on-ice abilities, many of Boucher's greatest assists took place off the ice. He served as American Indian Education Coordinator for Warroad Public Schools, as well as American Indian Education Program Consultant at various Minnesota school districts. Still, his hockey talents did not go unnoticed. He was named to the Warroad High School Athletic Hall of Fame, the United States Hockey Hall of Fame, he was inducted there in 1995, and the North American Indigenous Athletics Hall of Fame, inducted in 2022. Dave Forbes, meanwhile, continued playing in the NHL for 4 more seasons after the trial. He remained with the Boston Bruins through the 1976-77 season, helping the team reach the Stanley Cup Finals in '77. Forbes was claimed in the waiver draft by the Washington Capitals before the 1977-78 season. He spent a full season there, but was released after just 2 games into the 1978-79 season. Forbes finished his professional playing career in the World Hockey Association, the WHA, with the Cincinnati Stingers for 1 season before retiring from the ice. Following his retirement from professional hockey, Forbes transitioned to a successful career as a financial advisor based in Colorado Springs, Colorado. He also became deeply involved in his church and worked with fellow players to establish Hockey Ministries International, HMI, which facilitated chapel services throughout the NHL and distributed Bibles. The many articles I found in the Minnesota Star-Tribune archives regarding the game itself, the trial, and the aftermath were invaluable. But so was a podcast I listened to recently. The name of the podcast is Life Over Coffee. That's Life Over Coffee. The episode I listened to, episode number 346, was entitled Stunning Story of NHL Player Reconciling with the Player. The podcast host, Rick Thomas, interviewed Dave Forbes in 2021. This episode gave me a better picture of Forbes' life after that hockey game in 1975 and the trial that followed after the incident. Now, we learned from reading an online article in the Star-Tribune archives that Boucher had testified during the trial that Forbes had called him like the day after the attack to apologize. But was that really enough? Had there really been a sense of closure? As I listened to this podcast episode, I learned that Forbes had become a deeply religious man about 2 years after the incident in 1975. He had established a ministry for hockey players. He had a wife and family. He'd enjoyed a successful career as a financial advisor. But had he ever spoken to Henry Boucher since the day after the attack in that hockey game in January of 1975? Did they ever really reconcile? That's what I still needed to find out. And here's what I learned. In January of 2020, Forbes was one of the speakers at a business conference in Cancun, Mexico. After he had given his talk, and during a break in the conference, a young man named Bill had walked up to Forbes and introduced himself. Bill told Forbes that he was from Minnesota, from the Minneapolis area, but had grown up in northern Minnesota, close to the Canadian border. Bill told Forbes he was a real hockey guy and that it was fun to meet another hockey player, especially a former NHL player like Forbes. But that wasn't the only time Bill spoke to Forbes. Toward the end of the conference, Forbes said there was an opportunity for delegates to come up and share their stories. He said Bill got up and talked about his upbringing. He talked about a man who had been a major influence in his life. That man's name was Henry. And this Henry, he too had a connection to hockey. When Bill had finished speaking and was walking back to his seat, Forbes, who was seated at a table near the speaking platform, asked Bill, "What's Henry's last name?" And Bill said, "Boucher." Not surprisingly, at this point in the podcast, you can hear Forbes' voice cracking. Forbes said he got together with Bill a short time later to chat some more. Bill was about 20 years younger than Boucher, but he told Forbes that Henry had had kind of a fatherly influence on him. Bill said that he had experienced hard times at certain points in his life, but Boucher had always been there to help him. So Boucher was a very special guy in Bill's life. Forbes said he then asked Bill whether his relationship with Boucher was still active, if he still kept in touch with him. Bill said yes. And Forbes then asked Bill if he thought Henry would be open to have him, Forbes, come to Minnesota and be with him. And Bill told him, "I think Henry would very much love to do that." You see, as they were talking to each other at that business conference in Cancun, Mexico, Bill told Forbes that he could sense that Forbes was still filled with regret and remorse over what he had done to Boucher in that hockey game 45 years ago. And Forbes told Bill that that was true. Even though it had been many years since then, he was never able to, in Forbes' own words, just brush it off as nothing. He confessed to Bill that he had thought about Henry Boucher a great deal over the years, and he would really appreciate being able to spend some time with him. So, Forbes said that Bill offered to set up a meeting where Forbes could meet with Boucher up in Warroad, Minnesota. Now, Forbes said the plan originally was to go up to Warroad in the spring or summer of 2020. But because of the pandemic in 2020, his travel plans were put on hold. Forbes said he had had intermittent communication with Bill during that period, and as things slowly started to get better, Forbes finally went up to Warroad to see Boucher on June 17th, 2021. It was a private meeting, no media, just Forbes and Boucher. But even before Forbes journeyed up to that very northern part of Minnesota, Warroad, Minnesota, he said he'd had a couple of conversations and exchanged some texts with Boucher. In one of those conversations, Forbes said he communicated to Boucher his regret and remorse for what he had done to him in that hockey game in 1975 and for the harm he had caused him. Remember, it had been more than 45 years since Forbes had spoken to Boucher. Well, in the podcast, Forbes said that after he told Boucher how sorry he was for what he had done, Forbes said Boucher's reply just kind of blew him away because Boucher told Forbes, "Hey, I forgave you a long time ago." In the podcast, as soon as Forbes had said that, it was silent for several long moments before the host, Rick Thomas, in a southern accent said, "I like seeing hockey players cry. I think it's a good thing. It kind of changes the image a little bit." Once Forbes had regained his composure in this podcast, he said what Boucher did for him was a picture of forgiveness and reconciliation. He said Boucher had become a dear man to him in just a very short time. Pretty emotional stuff to listen to, that podcast. But just imagine what a relief that must have been for Forbes, especially to speak to Boucher again after all those years, to make a heartfelt apology, and then to be told that he had been forgiven. In the mid-1980s, after living in several places following his retirement from professional hockey, Henry Boucher moved back to Warroad, where he was a coach, an active American Indian educator and activist, and an advocate for Native Americans in sports. Sadly, he died on September 18, 2023, at the age of 72. He passed away in the Twin Cities after collapsing while seeking treatment for ongoing heart issues at the Minneapolis VA Medical Center. Boucher was survived by his 4 children, a sister and 2 brothers, and 5 grandchildren. Just 6 months after the death of Henry Boucher, Dave Forbes, who had become a deeply religious man about a year after his trial for aggravated assault, and went on to enjoy a successful career as a financial advisor in Colorado Springs, Colorado, died unexpectedly on March 25, 2024. He was 75 years old. Forbes was survived by his wife of 42 years, 4 children, and 6 grandchildren. Dave Forbes said he had thought about Henry Boucher a great deal over the years. And me, just a 21-year-old college student who sold beer and peanuts at Met Center when that infamous hockey game was played in January of 1975, I also thought a great deal about both of these men over the years. I wanted to know if they ever got together again to talk. Happily, I was able to learn, finally, the rest of the story. A story about forgiveness and reconciliation. Reconciliation. When it's done right, both sides walk away richer. I want to believe that both Henry Boucher and Dave Forbes walked away richer after they finally met again in 2021. Someone smarter than me once said, when you forgive, you're not erasing what happened or saying what happened was okay, but you are giving yourself permission to have a future that isn't determined by your past. Amen to that, eh? 2 quick things. 1, I wanted to mention that there's an excellent 1-hour documentary about Henry Boucher called The Electric Indian, now streaming for free on the PBS app. It came out in 2024, shortly after Boucher had passed away, in fact. Ojibwe filmmaker Leah Hale chronicles the life of Boucher. It's really well done. I recommend it. The Electric Indian. And 2, that hockey game in January of 1975 was the second of the 3 years I worked at Met Center selling beer and peanuts. I'm happy to say, relieved to say, that there was never another game that resulted in a headline in the Minneapolis Tribune the next day about a player getting mauled in a hockey game. And that's going to do it for this podcast episode. Flying solo this time, no guest. But I do wish that somehow I could have talked to Henry Boucher and Dave Forbes. But the research was fascinating, a deep dive and a labor of love. Again, to our listeners, thanks for hanging out with me, Bob Edholm. We hope you'll join us for the next episode of Hanging Out with Bob, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until then, bye.